Last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Is it Tana Los or Tana Los?
I thought it was Tone Loc. Because he's got the funky cold.
There's some funky cold Bajorans.
And now the conclusion.
And who's going to be paying for all this holosuite time? I guess I am.
Wormhole does bring them our way, doesn't it?
Everyone wants a piece of the new frontier.
And I'm sure you've already tried to sell it to a few of them.
We made the decision.
You don't know what any of this is about, do you? You work here. You see these people every day, how they live, and you just don't get it.
Has anybody pierced your lobes? Perhaps they haven't pierced them with the right audio. Well, if that's the case, then you are in the right place because you are listening to the Audio Umox podcast. Welcome. I am your co-host, Simon Van Gelder, joined by my erstwhile companion,
John Christopher.
And we are at episode 5 of our series that explores Deep Space Nine. We are excited to be with you for the next 170 plus episodes to get through this epic science fiction phenomenon that is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. John, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to get into the Tranya and a great episode. I am a man alone here in the basement.
I'm a man alone in my home office, so that's actually a very apt observation, as we are both going to discuss the Deep Space Nine episode A Man Alone, which would have been the, if you count Emissary as 2 parts and then past prologue, our last episode, this would have been the 4th episode broadcast, 3rd episode filmed of the show, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And just as a reminder, if you're new to the show, episode 1 of Audio Umox, we cover Deep Space Nine with a quick overview. It's a brief, just over half an hour show talking about the show itself. Episode 2, I Can See Your Wormhole From Here. We talk about Emissary. Episode 3, we finish up Emissary with an episode we call Ma, Where's My Pa? And then episode 4, last episode, was The Jazz Hands Haggle, which covered past prologue, a excellent first kind of regular episode of DS9. And tonight, it's A Man Alone, and we're going to cover that.
But first, the Trun.
Well, I'll start, if you don't mind. I am boring. I am having a coupe glass of, it's probably my second, actually, not my first. It's a wee bit of Tito's from Austin, Tito's vodka, a little bit of, a splash of, why are you laughing?
Because great minds think alike, my friend.
Here we go. It's some Tito's vodka, some Gordon's gin, some Quina Lillet, and I've made it into my variation of James Bond's Vesper Martini with a little wedge of lemon, and, you know, cheers, my friend. What Tranya are you imbibing tonight?
Okay, so we started, apparently we're seeking Tito's as a sponsor. I am enjoying
We're cheap,
a Tito's vodka as well, but I'm doing a a classic dirty martini, vodka, and I have blue cheese stuffed olives, and actually stuffed the blue cheese olives myself.
You know, your wife told me you were really good at stuffing the olives.
That's what she said, right? Very good.
What I'm saying. So, well, very good. So,
Okay.
so
I'm
my friend.
going to pour without further ado. I don't know if you can maybe hear the clinking a little bit. All right, I'm ready.
And cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
First the Tranya. You know, Clint Howard makes any alcohol go down better. Actually, I think you need alcohol to look at Clint Howard.
Yeah. Then and now.
Maybe more now. And I should say, rest in peace, speaking of Clint Howard, to Erin Moran, who played Joni on Happy Days and Everybody. What is it? The other one? Joni Loves Chachi. Not Everybody Loves Chachi. Joni Loves Chachi, who just passed away. I know I'm dating this episode and stepping outside of genre, but Clint Howard reminded me of Ronnie Howard, who played Happy Days.
Richie Cunningham.
Right. And of course, Clint Howard, when he was playing Baylock on the original series of Star Trek, he also was on Gentle Ben.
Grizzly Adams.
Well, I used to know a guy back in second grade who had a Gentle Ben lunchbox. And no, I'm serious. And there was one.
I believe you.
And I kept looking at the lunchbox saying, no, that's Baylock from Star Trek. And the guy, I think at one point hit me in the head with the lunchbox. He didn't know what I was talking about. Okay,
so we will start out with, as always, just a brief synopsis. I typically will try to grab what the TV guide used as a intro teaser.
Wait,
just for fun.
Do you have just a stack of TV guides?
Yes, I am I'm a hoarder.
Okay.
And
I haven't seen you in a while. I wondered about that. Don't let that pile fall on you.
Yeah, keep a bunch of those lying around just for such an emergency.
Gotcha.
No, actually, our friends at Google have captured and recorded virtually the entirety of history somehow magically, and so I'm able to search it.
So yeah, and if you don't know what TV Guide is, we go through that. Was it our first episode where we explain what TV Guide and rabbit ears were? So if you're a millennial and if you can look up from your coffee and peculiar neck beard long enough, you can go listen to that.
Yes, to that. Okay, very good. Okay, so here we are. Here we are. I'll shift my man bun out of the way so I can read. So Ibudan, who's a Bajoran criminal that Odo has dealt with before, returns to DS9 only to be murdered shortly after, leaving Odo to be the prime suspect. Jake and Nog's trouble. Let me try that again. Okay. So I got the one thing down perfectly. This one, it's the making just didn't, it was in the wrong place. No, it's actually the right word. I just interpreted it improperly. Well, let's start one more time. Are you ready?
I'm leaving it in. Go ahead, man.
Okay. Ibudan, a criminal.
Ibudan. I don't know if it's Ibu, but go ahead.
Ibudan.
Oh, well,
they said Ibudan.
It's spelled Ibadan.
I thought it's actually, I think that's a typo. I think it was IBU.
Oh. Okay.
Ibudan.
Right. Well,
okay.
You might need an IUD to abort this episode.
All right. So shall we?
I'm waiting on you. Live. I'm doing it live.
All right.
Now, great. There's another sound drop I got to go find.
Ibudan, a criminal Odo has dealt with before, returns to DS9 only to be murdered shortly after, leaving Odo to be the prime suspect. Jake and Nog's troublemaking prompt Keiko to do something helpful for the station's children.
Shut your damn Keiko!
My first question in the overview, it's called A Man Alone, and so I was wondering, who are they referring to? Is the man alone Ibudan? Because he's traveling alone, presumably settling scores. Is it Odo? Because he's the only one of his kind and doesn't get to couple. Dax, because she's near immortal and has to travel through time as ephemeral beings and friends literally die around her. O'Brien, because he's in the doghouse. 100 billion castaways looking for a home. Anyway.
Gotcha.
That was my first semi-rhetorical question about A Man Alone. Any insight?
No, actually. I'm kind of ready to let it just play out.
Let's just dive in. Okay, so we start the episode, and Dr. Bashir enters the holosuite as Dax is doing an Altonian brain teaser, and
is that code for like reading 50 Shades of Grey with a battery operated device, or
it could be. Yes, she's teasing her brain, but she's sitting there in a semi-yoga-ish position with this giant ball of super elastic bubble plastic in front of her.
What woman doesn't?
So the goal is to get it a single color. In Bashir's case, basing on that conversation, I'm guessing the color of his ball is blue.
Well played. Very good.
So in previous Star Trek series, everyone was always so cool and suave, debonair, always picking up the girls. Mm-hmm. It is not the case with Bashir, and so I was truly, really connected with Bashir in this particular instance because you and I, we have a long history together. For the listeners at home, our friendship spans almost as long as Dax and Cisco's.
It's a long time, man.
It's a long time.
It's a dangerous bit, man.
In college, I was not the most suave guy. I was like much like Bashir. I was always challenged, and you actually had a pet word for the look I would give when I was trying to pick up girls, and that's the exact look that Bashir has. Do you want to share?
Well, look, I want it clear that I didn't invite this abuse of you. I was not trying to make fun of you on this show. You asked for it. In other words, is what I'm saying. To say this, so you're fine with me? All right. John had this way, we'd go to the clubs or the bars or whatever, a social event, and he was so intent on coupling, as Odo will say shortly, that he had this look on his face, and it was kind of like when you have a cat who is outside and pressing against the screen window of your front door because it's hungry. So I always called John the hungry cat.
It's the hungry cat look.
Hungry cat look, yeah.
Yeah.
It unfortunately, though, it reeks of desperation to most females, and it turns them off.
Yes. Yes, it does.
So there you have it. You brought it up. I didn't.
That was the story. Yeah, story of my life is Dr. Bashir.
I should add. I'm sorry to interrupt. I should add, though, you've remedied that with a very lovely mate at this time. So
absolutely. Thank you very much. And
yes.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud. We're very proud of that.
Who introduced you to that? Never mind. It's okay.
That would be you. We'll save. Maybe that will happen. Maybe we'll talk about that on a future episode as well.
As you wish, sir. As you wish.
Yes. So there you go. So that's how things open, and then it cuts quickly to Quark and Odo, and they're watching O'Brien and Keiko arguing, and they have their talk about coupling, which...
Well, yeah. And Odo has a point. Compromise sucks.
It does.
I mean, he's like, Odo's basically saying, look, you want to watch the Chiefs beat the Steelers' ass, and she wants to watch the Nutcracker Swede. And it's like, neither one want to do the other. So you compromise by watching some opera, and nobody's happy. That's marriage.
Okay. But it also maybe plays women to be, just all their entire existence is to nag men and make them do things they don't want to do. Which,
Well, and to be fair,
I don't know.
my wife turned me into a football fan. So yeah, just so you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, lots of fun there. So we have that brief scene, the arguing scene. That's going to set up, the rest of the
parallel.
I can't.
Yeah. That character in the next, that couple in the next couple. But please go ahead.
All right. And so we then cut to Dax and Cisco. Right. Getting reacquainted and reminiscing about Curzon.
Right.
And
Curzon, by the way, is not
Cisco.
a bizarre sex act. It is a previous incarnation of Dax. So,
do you want to go into a bit of detail about that?
You might want to explain it. Why don't you kind of just give us the 30 seconds on that?
So the Trill, and I don't even know what Curzon and
they're Trill symbionts.
Jadzia.
They're the symbionts.
So they don't have
they're from the same homeworld.
A separate name. So the Trill are a symbiont being that live inside.
Dax is the name of the symbiont, whereas Jadzia is the name of the Trill, whereas Curzon was the name of the Trill, the host. Correct.
Right. And so these symbionts live inside sequentially or serially. The Trill will live very long lives because Dax has been through 6 or 7 symbionts, so has probably lived hundreds of years. And the symbiont can be of either gender that hosts the Trill, would then live a life, age, and then pass on. The Trill is then removed and placed in the new host.
The hot, taut, sexy body of the new host.
Yes, with spots that go all the way down. Right? Isn't that from a future episode somewhere?
Indeed.
So Cisco and Curzon Dax, which is the previous host of the Dax symbiont, were very close friends. Curzon Dax was Cisco's mentor, a second father to him, and so they spent a lot of time together as very close friends, dating together, wrestling together, doing whatever friends do. So we
don't wrestle. I don't.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, if you came back as a hot chick, I would probably be in the same place as Cisco. You?
It would be weird, hey?
It would be weird. But I would not be interested in coupling with you, knowing
depending on having
seen you do the Bigfoot walk to the bathroom.
Wait, but it's a different body. If I was like
it is, but in my mind, I would see the Patterson film shot.
Yeah, that's true.
Of
but
the
do you think
Bigfoot mid-stride, hair everywhere.
Hair everywhere. Surprise what does that mean? I don't even want to. You know what? Why don't we just stop this there? That's just all right. God. Do continue. Get to your steamed asna, please. So
do I mention the steam asna? You can mention the steam. I don't think I took notes on this.
All I know is that I like Dax's steamed asna, and I'd be all over that steamed asna. But this brings. It's funny you brought this up because this brings me to a point I thought about. Is it Cisco? Think about this is 1993. And right now in 2017, we're in the midst of a national
steamed asna shortage.
Well, that too. But a national conversation about the trans identity. Cisco is basically going through what a lot of us are going through now, where, like, for example, I give a lot of talks, right? You know this, I speak to a lot of groups and classes. I went to a college class where there was a trans person. And the instructor was quick saying, if so-and-so asks you a question, we don't refer to that person as him or her, but as they. And to me, old man that I am now, that sounded so bizarre and impersonal. It's like, it was almost like calling them it. To me, calling someone it is offensive.
Right.
But the they pronoun actually works for them.
And it's gender vague.
Gender vague. So,
Yeah.
so if you think about this trans language and you think about what Cisco's going to, it's once again another example of Star Trek is once again ahead of its time. And I love what Dax says here, which is grow comfortable with discomfort.
Ah, yes. I wrote that down.
Did you as well? Well,
I
here's
did.
the thing. I once took a leadership class years ago, and that was one of the primary lessons was if you're going to lead, if you're going to be in a position of authority, grow comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I loved it that I hear this from Dax to Cisco, who is basically leading a new group. And I think beyond growing comfortable with his discomfort with seeing kind of the paw or the soul of a friend in the body of a nubile, beautiful, attractive young woman.
Yeah.
That also is a metaphor for grow comfortable with discomfort of running a Federation station on a Cardassian platform in a Bajoran sector in the midst of the greatest uncertainty the galaxy's known with the wormhole. Boom.
Boom. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Because it's a philosophy beyond the immediate conflict in front of the two of them that they were facing. It's a general philosophy for leadership in life.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree.
And she has great steamed asana.
She does indeed.
And I like her spots. Go ahead.
So then we cut back over to Quarks, to the bar. Odo sees a familiar face at the Dabo table.
Right.
And walks over, tells him he has 26 hours to leave the station, and which kind of confused me. And I understand conceptually that Bajor has a 26-hour day, but if 26 hours is a day, why are they using Earth hours to measure it? Is there?
As a writer, I get back to something we're going to come to often in this, and there is a part of us that wants to be true to the world that has been created, but there's also a part where if you become too distant from common contemporary measurements of time and space, it becomes onerous to the viewer and confusing and takes them out of the story.
Got it. That makes sense.
I didn't even write that down, by the way.
That's perfectly. That's the show. I think it was the new. Was it Battlestar Galactica?
The new WKRP? Yeah.
No. One of the sci-fi shows I tried to watch.
Battlestar Galactica is a great example. They have centons instead of minutes.
And if you didn't have the Battlestar to English dictionary, then there's no way that you could follow what was going on.
Exactly.
You'd have, and so that makes sense.
Takes you out of the story, and nobody wants to be taken out of the story. So
that makes sense.
That goes from there to Nog and Jake, right? They're up to hijinks.
Right. Yeah, they're getting bored. They're bored on the station. They introduce each other, and
Jake
to me, my
human.
point.
Sorry, he does.
Yes,
a human.
And it just shows that in a part of the galaxy that's lacking Wesley Crusher, writers can improvise. They find some way to.
I find Jake and Nog far less obnoxious than Wesley Crusher.
Very well, but it's early, so
yeah.
I get that they're trying to introduce some kids, and that's kind of a real life subplot that occurs in military deployments, and I understand, but sometimes I struggle with those things.
Yeah, but at least Jake and Nog are not, almost godlike prodigies.
True. The super genius.
Yeah, I can't abide that. I find that a cheap writer's trick that Wesley.
Yeah.
Wesley, by the way, being the middle name of Gene Roddenberry. I mean, Wesley was supposed to stand for Gene Rod. So he's basically created a character that was a young super genius and named it after himself. It's pretty obnoxious, but please continue.
So then it cuts back to Cisco and Odo discussing Ibadan, and the discussion gets a bit heated at that point.
Yes.
And hearkening back to your discussion and some of the points that you made in our last episode, Cisco again begins or continues to assert his authority and leadership by saying, if you can't work within the rules, I'll find someone who can.
Yeah,
Say that the rule of the Federation rule and Bajoran rule, the rule of law is critical on the space station and not Odo's sense of justice.
His personal code of justice. Well, did you notice too the way the filmmaker did this? I don't recall the name of the director offhand, but if you'll notice this, there's a shot of Odo, and the way they shoot Odo at this point when Cisco's delivering this line, Odo is shot in the diminutive. He is shot from above down as a child, whereas Cisco is shot up in a power position. Now it's I'm a former actor and director. I'm not trying to sound pretentious, although I do. But I noticed those things where they're subtly sending cues, and at that moment, Odo is in the diminutive. He is the small, and Cisco is the big. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So what about his Ugg boots?
That comes up later.
Were they diminutive Ugg boots?
That's coming up. I've got a note here about Odo's booties. So don't you think for a minute I didn't notice that. I hate
all right. So now we cut away to Ibudan, who has now gone to. They've cleared out the super elastic bubbles plastic and have converted the hollow suite to a massage parlor. So Ibudan is there, and is that Johnny Tremaine's sister, or the great granddaughter of the creature from the Black Lagoon and Julie Adams? They had kids. Did you notice her hands?
I was thinking Sigmund the sea monster was massaging him. There's a bit of a Sid and Marty Krofft hour that he paid for, with a little bit of sport massage maybe for that IT band. But yeah, I certainly noticed the webbed fingers working on him, which creeped me out. Yeah,
they were a little bizarre. Yeah. I don't know. Were there suction cups on the fingertips as well?
Cupping. Listen, I had cupping done before my last half marathon. Cupping works, so maybe she had little mini suction cups on her fingertips.
Maybe she's doing some.
And there's other cuppings, but that Garrick does. Garrick does little cupping, seeing if Dr. Bashir dresses to the left or the right.
Checking the inseam.
Well, that's what they call it. That's what the kids call it these days.
There you go. So he does not get a happy ending in this massage. He gets a knife stabbed right through his thoracic artery or something.
Well, you know what he is, John. He's the Mo Greene of the Bajoran sector.
Do you know who I am? I'm Mo Greene. I made my bones when you were going out with cheerleaders.
But he's the Mo Greene of the Bajoran sector. He gets whacked on the table.
Yeah, he does. So
Alex Rocco. I just think that name is funny. The actor who played Mo Greene, Alex Rocco, may he rest in peace.
There we go. So there we go.
It's funny, isn't it? I said Alex Rocco and you laughed. It's a funny name.
I'm trying to hold back now. So is this about the time that they cut to opening credits? Have we missed that? Did we jump past the opening credits?
Oh God, are we not there yet?
I think we passed it. I think so. I can't remember. Maybe it was the hollow suite and the argument with Kate.
I think it was after that with Kay Cole and O'Brien. Poor Miles.
Okay.
It's no wonder he goes to the arms of Bashir later. I mean, really. But go ahead.
All right. So we continue.
Mo Greene.
So now we cut
Mikey?
Back to Jake and Nog. And so they're just those little guys have decide that they're trying to get themselves into some trouble. So So they get a small box of Iranian bolites. Is that
like
am I pronouncing?
animals? Do you match them?
So something like that. Yes.
I caught some
Yes.
Iranian bolites in South Padre, by the way. Oh no, seriously, we both had to shave our Deep Space Nines to get rid of them. But go ahead.
So well, I found it peculiar. The Earth bugs you get. Lyme disease, which is it's like with you for life, basically. Ebola, which kills you. They've managed to find this bug that makes you change color for 15 seconds. Yeah, it does freak you out. It obviously freaks them out.
Well, in South Padre, we were changing color at the restaurant, and then we were in this hot tub, and yeah.
I changed color at your wedding from white to lobster red.
You really did, dude. You got to wear the sunscreen.
Did. Yeah, you do. You do. All right. So then it cuts to the investigation. It begins. Obviously, Odo is the prime suspect. That becomes evident extremely early on. I won't get into all the details.
Yeah, but you do get a close up of Odo's booties right at that scene. Must you tuck your pants into your boots? I don't know, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And as this happens, a businessman named Zara. I don't think they ever mention his name in the episode.
How do you know his name?
Do you know who I am? I'm Mo Greene.
The liner notes give it away to me. Give it away.
Written by Timothy White or something. Go ahead.
So he comes up to Cisco and claims that Ibudan said Odo planned to kill him. And then they continue the investigation, and an appointment book has Odo on it.
Right. And, I should interrupt and say that Zara is played by Eddie Albert Jr. Green phasers are the things to flee. Oh, it was his dad who played on Green Acres.
Oh, that's Eddie Albert's son.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
So Green
Very good.
phasers.
So any Gabors show up?
Well, there are a few aliens that do look like a late model Zsa Zsa. That's true.
Yeah.
Or Ava.
Nice.
Yeah. So did you look at the book? Did you look at when they got Odo was looking at the guy's day book? Did you look at it carefully?
I did.
You didn't
catch.
I did.
I didn't catch the what was the Star Wars reference?
The Alderaan spaceport.
Yeah.
Alderaan, which got blown up. Really?
And if Star Wars is from a long time ago, right? In a galaxy far, far away. So it was. If Star Trek is in the future, Star Wars is in a distant galaxy, but distant past, right? So that doesn't make sense to me.
But I mean,
they just trying to keep
their. Well, you know though that in I believe one of the Star Wars movies, they put the Enterprise in the fleet of ships. They hid it in there somewhere.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, there's a little bit of
some little Easter eggs. Is that what they call it? Dropping some eggs. Yeah. So that was just some fun, some inter-show loving.
Inter-show. Yeah, but then he's doing tennis, a lifeboat drill, a Yanni concert. By the way, I think the concert was the guy with the two green dildos.
and the spa rocks.
And the spa rocks. Don't you think that's where he was going?
Absolutely. That guy, he brings them in. He brings them in.
He brings in the dildos or the
whatever it takes, man.
Whatever it takes. All right.
So, and of course, Odo has, all the DNA evidence points to Odo. All the circumstantial evidence points to Odo, and he has absolutely no alibi because he was regenerating at the time. He was, in his natural state, which apparently is semi-gelatinous goo of some sort sitting in a pail. Does that sound about right?
Well, yeah, he's semi-gelatinous. It's but a pail. I know.
Other constables pale in comparison.
Thank you. Yes. Oh my God. I wasn't going to go there, but I'm glad you did. Let's just move on to the next scene.
Funny show.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
So now
move on to Keiko convincing Cisco.
Yeah. So Cisco, you could tell he's all for it, there's absolutely no resistance whatsoever.
It's futile.
And you could tell he's mad at his son, but not so mad that they can't joke around because they're like,
Yeah, but
messing with each other.
Cisco's racist about the Ferengi, but like, boy, he's just freaking racist about him. I mean,
Cisco?
honestly, yeah, because he's Ferengi. I don't want you around him because he's Ferengi. My God, go back 200
I
years.
think it was. I don't. It's every time you two get together, someone gets bolites in their wormhole. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I mean,
okay. It's
if
possible.
if that's what you if that's what you're
possible.
into.
I mean, there's plenty of sexism to go around.
Yeah.
With this obviously accomplished botanist that is relegated to running a one-room schoolhouse for 4 kids because they can't find work for her. And of course, if she's a woman and she's educated, then by God, she's perfectly qualified to be a teacher, right?
Well, I love that because, like, I wanted to say, well, I've never been a gynecologist, but it's always something I thought about doing. It's so
yes, and
it's so condescending to Cakehole. By the way, it really is. It's clearly like it's like Cisco's going, I need her freaking husband here because he, I need him to get this shiz together, so I will placate the spouse.
Yeah, the computers do all the work anyway. She's just gonna.
Yeah,
put them in a closet there.
It's pretty freaking insulting, frankly.
Yeah.
But, it almost makes you sorry for Cakehole, but almost. Because she's so sour and obnoxious, I can't totally feel sorry for her.
Agreed. I think I feel sorry for the implication that this has on teachers. My wife is a teacher, and it just doesn't. It denigrates what teachers do and what's required of them. Not every any person could just walk in and be a teacher. It requires much more training than that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you. And
all
if it was your wife, how would you have reacted to Cisco, or how would she or would have reacted? I don't know. It's rhetorical. It doesn't matter.
Well, the shoe would be on. If my wife showed up at the space station and they already had a school but needed a botanist, I wouldn't volunteer her to be the botanist.
But what if she wanted to be the gynecologist?
Then I would ask for film. Can I supervise?
Well, let's take that offline.
Okay. So let's continue on.
Right. So we got back at the bar. So Green Acres continues to foment anger among the Bajorans, and Cisco is forced to temporarily offer Odo some relief.
Yeah, relieve him of his duty.
Oh, that too.
Which they make it sound like they try to play this as if this wouldn't happen in the normal course of action. I found that a little kind of silly. It's this. If someone's the prime suspect, it would make perfect sense. Odo shouldn't be troubled by that. Kira should not be troubled by that. It's just that would be a standard protocol in any normal operation, I would think.
That's fair enough. And I also noted that Rom sounds less dumb at this point, but more racist. And
and very sexist.
About a clothed female human teacher. And then I think there was a moment later where Quark calls Odo a crosspatch. What the hell is a crosspatch? That did seem out of character. I don't know. I actually looked up the word, and it is a genuine term. What does it mean? Seriously.
But I'll have to look it up again. But it was just as it sounds. It's a person who is difficult to deal with, and a crosspatch. I'm assuming maybe its origins are in agriculture. You're going down rows of some kind of crop of some sort, and then if there's a patch that's gone crosswise, then it's much harder to deal with. I am completely guessing, so I could very well be wrong.
So coming up,
and then you could look it up after we're done, and then you could just laugh at me hysterically. Go ahead and air it, and then laugh at me at the next episode.
It's a deal. So after this, Bashir finds a biological sample in his in a sample container. So he decides, of course, what does Bashir do when he finds a bio sample?
Hey, let's grow it. What the hell? What the hell? Is it a biogenic bomb? I don't know. Throw it in there. Let's see what happens. Maybe it's a weaponized form of athlete's foot. I don't know. Throw it in here. Let's see. Let's see. It could be some Altarian jock itch. Okay, let's grow it.
I had that once, along with the Voltarian gametes or whatever the hell those things were that made my girlfriend's parts turn purple.
Turn colors. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Blame it on the borites.
Borites, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So then Odo returns to his quarter. It's then to his office, and he finds the office vandalized. It's like that scene in Christine. You almost wonder if somebody has defecated on his dashboard.
Yeah, something like that. And when you look at where it says shifter, you could tell. I think someone wrote shit and they had to cover it up.
I saw that. I ran that back twice. I was like, are they writing shitter or shifter?
I think it was shit or shitter. And then, maybe it was Nog. Maybe it was Molly. She's young, but she is half Irish.
But Molly with that voice, I mean.
Oh, my God.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we've only begun to start riffing on Molly, but we'll keep going. So then Bashir's experiment is growing exponentially. Like, what is it like to you? It's like a giant...
A flesh-colored tribble.
I mean, I was going to say a Twinkie, but a tribble is much more appropriate. It's not hairy, but it's... And I think you said something. What did you say? It makes...
I said, of course, this makes Cisco hungry. So they...
But he doesn't invite Bashir. He invites Dax, and Bashir overhears it like, oh, sure, I'd love to go.
Yeah, that's back to the hungry cat is what that was.
It was the hungry cat. He was so excited to go with the commander to lunch. Yeah. And Cisco's like, all right, fine.
All right, we'll eat together.
You're picking up the check, though, young man.
well, of course, Bashir is using this as an opportunity to, make sure that Cisco's cool with the workplace sexual harassment and it's that bros before hoes talk.
Sure.
Make sure he's cool with him pursuing Dax and of course Cisco's like, yeah, have at it. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, ballless. good luck there. So then we go from there to K-Cole. She's setting up a school, and what's Miles bring her? He brings Molly, of course, who has that voice, that kid. I'll give it to them on this. They brought in an actual child actor, not an actor child, a child actor, a child trying to. It's hilarious. I mean, I almost thought it was dubbed in like that great old John Candy movie where Summer Rental, where they dubbed in the kid's voice from an adult. But this is clearly the Hannah Hate.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's. I'm assuming that's the child of someone who works on the show.
I don't know. It's Hannah Hate. I don't know anybody named Hannah, Hate, but she stays with the show the whole time. And so, what does Miles bring her? He replicates
an old school bell
to go with her old bat.
I'm not sure if that's meant to be an insult. Or it's just in the 24th century, men still suck at buying a practical gift.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just like, here you old bat, take this bell. So okay, moving on. So then a mob forms with pitchforks and torches outside Odo's shifter office, and shouting anti-shifter
epithets. Shifter. He calls himself Shifter.
Yeah, I'm a shapeshifter, and you're calling me a shifter. Oh, that hurts my psyche. That epithet.
It's like, yeah. So, and then what bothered me a little bit is that Morn was part of the crowd.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did all the makeup, and
it's like, get out there. But
like,
still,
we need a crowd.
I don't want Morn.
Are you on the boom mic? Get out there.
Yeah, I don't want Morn to be the. Yeah, I'm with you. I
So
don't want Morn to be the dick.
Et tu, Morn.
Et tu, Morn.
So,
all right.
So, and then of course, like a pitchfork and torch away, and if Zara started singing "Kill the Beast," it'd be like, Beauty and.
But then he also goes, green phasers are the things to flee. No, I'm sorry. No, but you're right. That's what Zara does. Yeah.
Okay. And so Cisco was trying to calm everyone down. Someone lobbed something at one of the guys' heads.
And breaks like
I think that was improv.
I don't think that
was the broken glass that was intentional. But there's like a rock, and why are there rocks on a space station? Anyway,
why are there pitchforks and torches?
Someone lobs a rock past someone's head, and Cisco's trying to calm them all down.
Probably one of Quark's frozen drinks. I don't know.
Could be. So and then concurrently, Bashir magically solves the problem in Wesley Crusher-like fashion.
Oh, that's smart ass Bashir.
And it turns out that Ibudon had created a clone of himself, killed the clone.
What did it smell like?
The clone?
Oh, I thought you said cologne. I was like,
no,
Ibudon by Calvin Klein. Sorry.
Yes. And then, of course, in proving this, Bashir has now created another clone. I'll get into that in a little bit, but that he just created yet another enemy for Odo.
What happened to that one? Oh my God, I hadn't thought of that. Okay, I'm ahead of you now. I was behind you, but now I'm ahead of you.
Okay, so now they know who did it. They've got now that Ibudon had killed himself. Or killed his clone,
right?
And so they've got to find him and arrest him,
right?
And since apparently murdering a clone of yourself, still murder. Yeah. So Odo decides to disguise himself as a chair
from IKEA.
In a room of an old Bajoran man named Lamine S. Iced tea? No, Lamine. Read the sign.
Read the sign.
Lamine.
Lemonade. Read the sign. And he looks like Stacy Keach, by the way.
He does. I actually thought it was. I thought it was a young Stacey.
Except he didn't have the hair lip. Hair lip. Would I? Would I? I'm sorry. That's bad.
A bad.
That's
bad joke.
Bad.
That's a bad. That's funny as hell. Okay, so then Odo tears off his mask, places him under arrest, and now I was just waiting for a side table to morph into Scooby-Doo at that moment.
I would have made it if it weren't for this end table. Those meddling dinette
meddling shapeshifter.
Meddling dinette
I would have gotten away with it. If it weren't for that meddling Bashir. That meddling Bashir. So then, of course, class starts, and tying everything up into a nice little package. And
well, there's all about the nice package, but I wonder what the school mascot is. The Niners, I don't know,
the wormholes.
The wormholes. The
fight wormhole. Yeah. So Nog and Jake and a couple of.
But the K-Hole cannot resist though being passive aggressive. Maybe show up on time next time. It's like, God,
stop complaining.
Can you not just
got your damn school
accept the? And
it's the first day of school. Come on.
God, maybe show up on time next time. What, like Klinger on MASH? All right, whatever.
So that's it. So that's
the
the
end of
show.
the
That's the
episode.
show. And then Cisco has he makes a journal entry.
A
You know,
journal. It's not
back
a
to
journal, it's a log, man, with corn in it. Big log.
Okay, so and that's where they mentioned briefly about this clone who's just released. You know, I hope he's not as big of a ass as the original version.
No, it turns out he's going to make a clone of himself and murder it just to frame Odo. But by then, Odo's like, I don't have time for this. I'm trying to get into Kira's pants.
I've done this before.
Yeah.
So, okay. So some general commentary. You have some thoughts on the episode?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to belabor this one. We're trying to bring this episode in under an hour, and I'm just going to say, good mystery story in the sense that that's a clever plot twist. I thought the pacing was off. I thought it was a little slow on the pacing. I understand, though, as a writer, early on, you're very expository. You're doing a lot of exposition, so things build slowly. But I felt like get on with it, and I found that. I think this episode had a lot of padding that was necessary in the sense that, okay, you needed to see that Kay Cole and O'Brien are not the most happily married newlyweds. You needed to see that Cisco and Dax have kind of a latent sexual chemistry that wasn't, well, it's not latent. It's a newfound sexual chemistry based on a very close homogeneous friendship, but it's going to go away. And then you had to kind of see that Odo's past. So I see it's all necessary, but I thought the pacing was a little slow. But I did like the clever idea of, oh wow, somebody created a clone to murder to frame my enemy, and so I thought in that sense it was all right. How about you?
Yeah, you know, I guess probably my biggest challenge was the two primary plots were this school thing. The kids.
That's the B plot.
Yeah. So the A plot being this murder mystery, and the B plot that they just did not work together. So the cuts between the two plot lines were very abrupt.
Right.
And
you could go get a snack every time you saw Keiko.
And those didn't work well together.
Right.
I understand that they wanted to get some of this plot going.
Right.
I just didn't think. I thought the other subject matter was too serious, and so then the subplot became more almost comic relief instead of actually character building, and so I did.
Yeah.
And I found that kind of a snoozer. I found, though it was a fun twist. I thought the murder mystery was a bit of a snoozer. I knew that Odo didn't do it. For me, I wasn't as taken by that plot line. It just did not work as well for me. And then for me, it just seemed so cavalier about creating a human life. The whole Bashir.
It's not a human life; it's a Bajoran. So,
creating another life,
sentient being
from scratch in a petri dish. It just does
Mr. Kitty do a scratch in the petri dish?
Cisco spent more time discussing steamed Osna like Bubba Blue on Forrest Gump than he did discussing the ramifications
steamed
of foaming another
fried Osna, fricasseed Osna, colonic Osna, finger Osna.
Yeah. So that I thought was a bit of a fried Osna.
Fried Osna. Dry. Okay. We could.
Okay.
I think everybody gets the Osna.
Osna burgers. And
Osna.
okay. So and then of course I mentioned already that the whole teaching subplot with Keiko it diminishes the job. It diminishes the job of teachers and of botanists. For
Oh
that
my God!
matter.
You know, it's funny. I have a friend, and I made just a joke about the and you may be offended too. His wife is a teacher, and I said, "Well, those who can't teach or whatever." It's that old
those
joke.
who can do, those who can't teach.
Right,
or,
and he took such offense to that. And
Yeah.
I totally did not mean any insult to teachers, but it was an insensitive thing to say. So I think this episode indirectly, by saying, "Oh, well, any botanist can be a teacher," it's offensive. I mean, now bear in mind, any of us can teach something, but it takes special gifts to be an all-around actual professional teacher. The pedagogy skill is not inherent in every
female of the species,
or anybody. Yeah, exactly. Like I went and spoke to my daughter's second grade class about being a writer, and they told me, you're a natural, you should be a teacher. And I'm like, well, thank you very much. Actually, what I am is a ham. I enjoy performing. To be a day-to-day teacher, oh my God, no, I'd be horrible.
Yeah.
I've taught college, the same thing. You've taught college, it's the same thing. I'm not saying you're not good at it, but I know that I would be bored with it very quickly, and I would not be a great teacher.
Right.
So there. So I think we agree on that. If I may, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your commentary.
Oh, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I thought it was an okay episode, but there were some things that were very disjointed.
Sure.
From my perspective.
Well, if you're gonna have a joint, you don't want to be a disjoint.
Exactly.
I had a favorite scene, a quote. I had a favorite quote. Which from Zara which is from Eddie Albert. How do you get a rope around the neck of a shapeshifter? Very clever quote. When they're thinking about stringing them up, I just thought it was a clever bit of writing. But in response to that, Cisco's speech, where is this justice or an expression of anger or fear? Now, this was back in 93, but, here I am in 2017 recording this with my friend John Christopher, and think about that. Is this speech, which sounds so dangerous, is this an expression of justice or an expression of anger or fear? Now, I'm not going to get political. I just want viewers, listeners, to consider that. What you hear today, the rhetoric you hear today, is an expression of justice, or is it anger and or fear that you're hearing? And
very good.
It's just another example of DS9 being ahead of its time. You, sir.
Yes. So you already mentioned the quote that I liked the most, which is Dax saying, "I suggest that you allow yourself to feel comfortable with your discomfort.
Yes.
Time can do the rest."
Very well.
So there you go. And we've had in-depth discussion about that already.
Right. Well, I guess it's time to assign some bars of latinum to this great work of art.
Yes.
John, where are you?
Out of 5 possible latinum bars, I give it a 2.
Ooh. Is it 2 with comment or 2 without comment?
I could give a slight comment, which is, again, I thought that the 2 plot lines were disjointed. They didn't make sense running together, so that made the jump from scene to scene and act to act very difficult for me.
Right.
And I found the ends to both stories fairly predictable.
Yeah.
That made it for me a 2. There were within those some dialogue, some conversations, some character building that was good.
Right.
So it's not a 1.
Right.
But it was, I thought it was just okay.
Okay.
You?
I'm going to give it 3 stars. I thought it had a nice mystery twist with growing a clone to murder, so you can basically take out an enemy. I thought that was a clever mystery twist. As a writer of mysteries, I thought that was somewhat clever. I also appreciated that this early in the series, they had some exposition work to do, and they lay some nice groundwork for Odo and Dax. I may be grading on the curve a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 solid bars of gold press latinum on this episode.
Very good.
Do you have a Deep Sex 9 by any chance on this episode?
I don't. I mean, I scoured Quark's bar.
Mhm.
The Dabo girl is cute. And
Yeah,
all.
but a Deep Sex 9 is more than just a nice, pretty.
Yeah,
face.
but there was no
Not
one
even-
that I could find.
Not even Dax and Bashir in the beginning. You found no.
Dax. Dax is Dax,
Right.
but there wasn't something special.
No.
And maybe I was turned off a bit because I related so closely to Bashir and felt
The hungry cat.
the hungry cat.
Well, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say there's not enough that rises to the level of Deep Sex 9 on this one. There's nothing really sexy about it, so I'll let that go. So, well, tell you what, that puts to bed A Man Alone. Unfortunately, he's alone in bed. So what we got next coming up is Babel, or Babel, a virus. Is it Babel or Babel? Because in the original series, it was Journey to Babel, and now is this Babel or Babel?
My thought was Babel, but I could certainly be wrong.
Well, Babylon and on. A virus infects the station's residents, making almost everyone unable to speak coherently. Much like
Me most of the time.
me most of the time, too. Tell you what, you've been listening to the Audio Umox podcast, and this has been our exploration into A Man Alone episode. And if you want to reach out to us and express yourself about this, tell us if we're full of crap or not. It's pretty simple. The easiest way is by Twitter. We are creatures of Twitter. We have an account on Twitter. It's very simple to find. It is Audio Umox, which is at Umox Podcast. That's at OOMOXPODCAST. That's the fastest way to reach us. We also have a Gmail account, which is, I believe, audioumox@gmail.com. I will tell you right now, we do not check that every day. We don't check that every week. We'll start checking it more often. We're excited, though, that as of this episode, we have, oh my gosh, what is it, 5? This is our 5th total episode. And we're excited that we've had quite a few downloads. And hopefully the good folks at iTunes will look at us and say, this is a nice, new, and noteworthy podcast. So far, no. But that's okay if they do or they don't. We're going to keep plowing on. There's 176 episodes of this show. And it is our intention, it is our plan, it is our directive, it might be even our prime directive to get through every episode before we call it quits. And that's what we intend to do. Anything else, John, before we call it a night?
No, that would be it from John.
All right, then. That will be it from Simon, and I think that'll be it from you. Thanks so much for listening once again to Audio Umox. We appreciate your lobes tuning in with us, and we'll see you next time when we talk about the episode Babel or Babel. I'm not sure which. Again, he is John Christopher. I am Simon Van Gelder, and you have been listening to the Audio Umox podcast. Until next time, all hailing frequencies are closed.